This isn't about hate. The damage caused by continued failures, terrible decisions, and the total absence of accountability. If you're a Leicester City fan who's tired of being kept in the dark, you need to have your say. You need to speak up. At the time of recording this, it's been 45 days since Leicester City were relegated officially from the Premier League. We still had a few games to go. It was against Liverpool. We put in a decent performance. We lost. We were relegated as we knew we would be for some time. But what else happened during that game? A plane flew over the King Power Stadium with a banner that said, "King Power clueless, sack the board." And another thing that happened off the pitch, it happened in the stands. The director of football, John Rudkin, who gets a lot of the blame for all of the failures in recent years, and the owner, the chairman, Ayawat, Top, Vishai's son, sat there laughing away 5 minutes before relegation to the Championship was confirmed, the second relegation in as many years. It's okay, though, because an early relegation from the Premier League gives the club time. It gives them time to plan for the future, to see what comes next. They take their time and think who should lead the club going forwards in terms of the manager, the players on the pitch, maybe the people surrounding the chairman, the director of football, maybe. 45 days have passed. The season has been finished for 10 days. And our manager, the first team coach, is with his family in the Netherlands and has absolutely zero idea of what he's going to be doing on the 1st of July when pre-season starts. He doesn't know whether he will be in charge of the football club or if he will be a free agent. Now, of course, the transfer window doesn't open yet. It's not open for Leicester City to go out there and make signings. So some people will say there's no rush. But how is it that a club like Southampton, who were also relegated alongside us, have their new manager in place, an exciting one at that, and they've already got their first signing lined up? We have nothing because the club don't even know what direction they're going to go in. I think the 45-day number is actually quite generous on the club. In fact, they've probably known since January when the new appointed manager, Ruud van Nistelrooy, came in and it started terribly. Since then, they've known that this club will be playing their football in the Championship next season. Remember 2 years ago when Leicester City were relegated from the Premier League under Brendan Rodgers and Dean Smith? We were told an internal review would take place to see what happened, what went wrong, and how does this not happen again in the future. Let's go to the club's statement where they told us about the internal review. Let's go to their statement now on the website and see what it says. Oh, that's right. There's nothing there because it's been deleted. It's been wiped from the internet. Why would that be? Maybe because the internal review was done by the same people that made the errors in the first place. What did they think was going to happen from the internal review? They were going to sack themselves? No, of course not. That's not what was going to happen. It was never going to happen. No findings from this internal review were ever published, were ever communicated with the club or the journalists. It was hire a new manager, Enzo Maresca, hire some players, get promoted, win a lot of games, and hope that the fans forget. But they didn't forget, because in the January of that following season, despite being top of the league, our manager Enzo Maresca wanted more players. Just one would have done in the January window. He knew what he needed. We were looking at a midfielder, Stefano Sensi from Italy. In fact, he was even at the training ground Seagrave. Why is he not a Leicester player right now? Well, the reason for that is because they were and ahhing over £2 or £3 million. Now, if the club can't spend that money, then that's fine. But why can't they spend it? Well, the reason they can't spend it is because they have fucked the finances of the club over the last 3 or 4 years to the point where they cannot spend money without breaching PSR. And the ironic part is that not only did we not sign Stefano Sensi for PSR reasons, we then sold Kinnan Dewsbury Hall before the 30th of June to help with PSR concerns. And guess what? We breached PSR. You could not write it up. You could not write it. Now, these failings that we keep talking about, Steve Cooper, a complete different direction from where the club have gone the past 5-6 years. The willingness to let him sign players that just aren't good enough to compete in the Premier League, that don't fit the style of play that this squad was built for 12 months earlier. The decision to hire Ruud van Nistelrooy probably just based off the fact that he beat us over the course of 2 games when he was interim at Manchester United. If these decisions aren't bad enough, well, the lack of communication should sign, seal and deliver the fate of the current people who run this football club. I mean, I talk about the internal review statement that is nowhere to be seen. At least they spoke to fans that year when we were relegated. And they told us and they gave us empty promises that this wouldn't happen again. At least they spoke. This time round, there's nothing. 10 days since relegation, not a peep from our owner who is too busy playing polo. And there's speculation online, as there always is when the club doesn't speak. There's speculation that maybe they're waiting until the 30th of June for the new accounting period before they can sack the manager. Well, guess what? If that was the case, why is OH Leuven, our sister club, who is also owned by Top, why are they getting frustrated with Top also? Because the CEO wants to sack their manager, Chris Coleman, and they can't until the owner, Top, gives them the green light. And guess what? He's not giving them the green light. He is missing in action for them as well. Now, we all know that Top has had a rough 5, 6, 7, 8 years with the loss of his father, Vishai, that we all love. But how many years can this go on? How many failures can take place and people keep saying, oh, well, you know, he's lost his father. Oh, well, he's grieving. Oh, well, you know, he's still trying to find his feet. Are we really going to put sentiment to the family over the needs of this football club? Because that is what so many people are still doing. This club 10 years ago was the best run club in the country under Vishai. No one would change the last 10 years of Leicester City's history. We know this. So before people start commenting on this, saying, be respectful, the family brought us the Premier League, they brought us the FA Cup, that's fine. I understand it, and no one can take those years and those trophies away from us. But if you continue excusing the failures of this board and what they're doing, we will not be able to compete for these trophies ever again. We will not be in touching distance of them ever again. In fact, I would put money on now that the next trophy we win is probably League One. Like, genuinely, we are closer to League One than we are in the Premier League in my eyes. We're getting shafted next season for points deductions, PSR reasons, again, because of the failures of the club. They're cowards. They don't want to talk to fans. They don't want to face the music because they are cowards. And they cannot admit to what they have done. They cannot admit that they have run this club footballing on footballing reasons. They have run this club into the footballing ground. I'm sure the club's still making money. I'm sure that's still happening. But you can't spend any of the money when you're running it into the ground and you get shafted by PSR and you're limited on what you can spend and you have to sell all your best players constantly. Susan Whelan apparently is doing a great job raising the revenue of the club, but that is irrelevant if you can't spend £3 million on a central midfielder from Italy while you're trying to win the championship. This is going to be a long summer. It's going to be a hell of a long summer, and I hope and I pray that changes are made at the top to make sure this shit doesn't happen again. But we know as Leicester fans it won't. We know as Leicester fans that come August, the same structure will be in place at this football club, and we may get promoted. By a miracle, we overcome points deductions and we get promoted to the Premier League. But I would put pretty much every penny I own that will be straight back down the year after. Because a promotion campaign will make the board think everything's fine. They're delusional, they're cowardly, and they're a disgrace. They are an absolute disgrace.